Hey, 8th grade. Today we're continuing with 11.5 part 2. We're going to pick up right where we left off. It's not a new skill. We already wrote this yesterday. Find each quotient using long division. Okay, we're going to start with an example. In this example, we have one term for our divisor and 3 inside. You'll notice that inside we go from 5x cubed to x squared to 7. So if you were paying attention to our powers, they went 3, 2, and then nothing. It's important when we're dividing, especially, we could get away with it with just one term out here, but especially when they're binomials, we have to have each variable represented. So instead of jumping to 7, we need to put 0x and then add anything that was there on the end. Okay, so we want a 3, a 2, a 1, and then none. Okay? And so then when we go to solve, right, x times what is going to give us 5x cubed? Well, that's a 5x squared. So I'm going to put it in the x squared column. 5x squared times x is 5x cubed. And those cancel out, so then I bring down an x squared. And x times x gives me x squared, which that falls out. So then I can bring down my next, which is a 0x, nothing, right? So you can write plus 0 or not, right? So 0 times that gives us no x's. There's nothing to report. We bring down the 7. And there's nothing times x that will equal 7, right? Because there's no variable, right? So we need that. So then this becomes our leftover, becomes our remainder, which means numerator. And then what we started with is our denominator. So our final answer for this one is 5x squared plus x plus 7 over x. Let's do another one. 3x squared plus 9x minus 15 divided by x plus 5. Set it up. We go from x squared to x to no x, which is great. This time we have binomial outside, 2 terms. We want to make sure that we keep them straight. So we need 3x squared is what we're going for, okay? So what will we need to multiply the x by to get that? It's a 3x, right? So we're going to put it in the x row. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 5 is 15x. And we subtract, right? And this is just like when we, multiplying by -1. It's to everything in the parentheses, everything in the grouping. So the 3x becomes negative, the 15x becomes negative, and we end up with no x2's, right? That falls out. And then we have a positive 9 and a negative 15. So the difference between those two is 6. So we have negative 6x. Okay? So now I bring down what's left. So minus 15. And I've got my 2 terms that I'm going to try to get. Okay? So what times x will give me negative 6x? Negative 6. It goes in the numbers column, right? Negative 6 times x is negative 6x. Negative 6 times positive 5 is negative 30. When I subtract these, I change the signs, and they both become positive, right? Because they were negative, so now they're both positive. So I end up with no x's and a positive 15. And there's nothing else, no math to do, so this is my remainder, which means it becomes my numerator, right? So we're gonna do plus 15 over x plus 5. So our final answer here, 3x minus 6 plus 15 over x plus 5. You try one. You try one. Here's yours. N squared plus 6n plus 2 divided by n minus 2. Go ahead and pause it. The correct answer on that one, I got n plus 8 plus 18 over n plus 2. Let's do another example. Couple more. All right. We have x cubed minus 34x plus 45, and then divided by x minus 5. So I already can notice that there's no squared, right? We jumped from 3 to 1. So I'm going to fix that when I write it out. So I have x minus 5 on the outside, and on the inside I have x cubed plus no x squareds, so plus 0 x squareds, minus 34x plus 45. So now I have each of the descending variables. Okay, so I'm going to start. X and x cubed. In order to get that, I need an x squared, so I have to put that in my x squared column. X squared times x is x cubed, and when I do that to my second term, I end up with negative 5x squared. When I subtract, both of the signs change, so I'm left with no x cubed, and I have a positive 5x squared. And then I bring down negative 34x. X times what will get me 5x squared? 5x. 5x times x is 5x squared. 5x times negative 5 is negative 25x. When I subtract, both signs change, so negative and positive. When I do that, my x squareds fall out, and I'm left with the difference of 34 and 25, which is a negative 9x. And I bring down 45, positive 45. Now I need to get a negative 9x, and I have an x, so I'm going to multiply it by negative 9. That will give me a negative 9x. Negative 9 times negative 5 is negative 45. Positive, sorry, I knew there was an error. Negative times a negative is a positive. And then from here, I need to subtract, so I'm going to change both of these signs. So this one becomes positive and this one is negative, which makes both of those fall out. So I'm left with no remainder, no fraction. This is my answer. X squared plus 5x minus 9. Now you try. I started to solve it and I ran out of room, so I'm going to solve it on this paper quietly, okay? Pause it if you're still working. All right, so here's my answer. X cubed plus 6 minus 22 over x plus 2. When I solved this, you know, you want to just focus on the first one at a time, right? So we're solving the first time for the x4. So what times x will give us x4. And then the second time we want to get that x to the third power. And then, so you're just taking one at a time. You don't want to, just because these were zeros, jump all the way to 6x. We want to make sure that we're careful that we group the right things together. So if you're always just working on, because there's a binomial out here, 2 terms, you always want to be working with 2 terms at a time, okay? So be careful, take your time. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be on at 2:15. Your homework today is page 709, and you'll be doing the odds. So 13 through 27 odd, and 31 through 37 odd. If you picked any of these yesterday for your homework, just, you know, write that it was on yesterday's. You don't have to solve it again, okay? All right, guys, good luck.